Hello to all the comic fans, Marvel geeks, and all the nerds in between. Welcome to another episode of the new and improved Vigilante Vibes, where we talk all things Marvel, along with other fandoms, but without the toxicity that's taken up way too much space in each and every fandom. I'm your host, Megan Nicole, and today we are going to do another episode of elevating all nerdy voices of the rainbow. For this episode, we are joined by the very lovely Emily.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Well, I am a aspiring game designer and developer. I'm also an aspiring comic writer and comic artist.
Wow, you're a busy woman.
I'm currently I currently just finished my fourth trimester at uni studying game design.
Oh my God, that's so impressive. That's really cool. So you want to design games and you want to design comic books as well.
Yeah.
There's only 24 hours in the day. How are you going to do all of this? That's so impressive.
Well, my goal is mainly to focus mostly on my comics.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to turn those comics into games one day as well.
Oh, that's cool. So what kind of comics do you work on?
Well, I work on a lot of mature themed superhero comics.
Okay.
I have one comic that's very inspired by the X-Men, heavily
Ooh.
inspired by X-Men, which is called the Xenopians. And it's about a group of kids who get caught up in a civil war between deformed humans with powers and the government. And they've basically just trying to create peace and let everyone cohabitate
Wow,
together.
that's really cool. I would love to read that. That
Cool.
sounds great. Also, I love your dress. That is so...
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I just love your whole vibe. So, is there... But you mentioned that they're Sinopians, right? It
Yeah.
was kind of like the X-Men. Do you usually get inspiration from other comics, like Marvel Comics, DC Comics?
Yeah, I actually do draw in a lot of inspiration from other comics. So, like, I'm very heavily biased towards Marvel, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in saying that, like, there is a lot of DC inspiration in my comics as well. Like, one of my favorite DC characters, Harley, actually inspired one of my characters called Show Pony.
Okay.
So, it's about a girl who is basically just likes to show off and create pranks and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, she sounds
So,
fun.
yeah.
Well, that's really nice. So, what kind of comics in Marvel are some of your favorites?
My favorite character in Marvel is actually Scarlet Witch.
Oh.
I love the complexity around her, like her traumatic past, the dynamic that she has in general with, like, inside of herself, the battle with inside of herself. She's a person that wants to do good, but she's confused. She gets easily manipulated by villains like Doctor Doom and Magneto, especially in the storylines of the Children's Crusade and House of M. So, like, the fact that she could also alter reality, like, who wouldn't want to do that, especially in these times?
I totally get it. I love Scarlet Witch. I agree with you. There's a lot of complexity with her, and she plays so many roles and wears so many different hats. Like, she's a mother, she's a witch, she's a sister, she is a daughter. I'll never not think of her as Magneto's daughter. I'll die on that hill. But I do totally get. She is such a strong character, such a good character, and I think anyone can find something of them in her.
Yeah. She's definitely a good character that's been led astray a few times. And all she ever wants to do is redeem herself from those mistakes that she's made.
I feel like we can all kind of relate to that. We all just kind of want to be a better person than we were yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah. What other characters are you into?
I'm into Wolverine, Deadpool, obviously Venom.
Obviously.
Yeah, Venom is very complex too. Like he hates Spider-Man, but he wants to also help Spider-Man at times.
Mm-hmm.
So like, especially when going up against Carnage during that run of the comics, um, that was that was interesting when I first saw them team up together.
Yeah, it it was a lot. It's a lot going on with Venom. It's way more emotional than people give him credit for. He wants to hate Peter so bad for pushing him away and not bonding with him, but he at the same time he's like, "Please love me, please." And it's like, can't we all just relate to that even in the littlest bit?
Exactly.
Did you see
So,
the Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so now you go.
Did you see the third Venom movie?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think?
I thought that was a bit in my book. Um, I may be biased because it was done by Sony, and Sony's track record is not that great. I also thought that Venom 2 was a bit eh.
Yeah.
I didn't really like how they portrayed Carnage. I think Carnage could have been a little bit more gruesome.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they nerfed him a little bit. And I wasn't really, yeah. And to be honest, the whole Venom franchise without Peter felt naked. So
It was a bold choice of theirs, a stupid choice, but a bold choice to make an
yeah,
entire universe about Spider-Man, but never actually having Spider-Man.
exactly.
It's it was a
Like you can't
choice.
have a Spider Verse without Spider Man. So
It just felt like trolling the fans because
yeah,
there was quite a few
and
times they gaslit us, making us think Spider-Man would show up. Like in the Morbius trailers, there were Spider-Man posters, and we're like, "Oh,
yeah.
this is it." And then they gave us that garbage can of a movie.
Oh, it was horrible. I
It
don't think
was.
I even watched it all the way through. I think I fell asleep and thought, yeah, nah, this is boring. I'm not trying again.
What I like, the one thing I do like about the Sony verse is that we all have such differing opinions, but we all come together to agree that it blows.
It does.
Oh my goodness. So, are there
I
any LGBTQ characters that you kind of resonate with?
One of my favorite LGBT characters. It's not something that someone that I actually sort of resonate with personally, but it would be Wiccan. Like
Ooh.
being gay. Um, like a lot of my. It took me a while to realize that I was actually trans as well,
Hmm.
but a lot of my life I left my sexuality and my gender identity in a hole, buried and masked. Um, and like I saw Wiccan and thought, at a time I thought I was gay, and I was like, yeah, this looks like a cool character, and I got into him, and also realizing that he was also Scarlet Witch's son,
Yeah.
also gave him brownie points. So yeah, like, and his relationship with Hulkling is amazing. Like, they are adorable together,
They really
and
are.
you see how much they love each other in Children's Crusade. Um that's actually one of my favorite Young Avengers storylines.
It's a great one. I don't know
It
how many times
is.
I've read it.
I've probably read it about 6 times, and each time I start, I can't put it down.
Yeah, it's one of the. There are a lot of comics that are rereadable that you can revisit and still be entertained, and that is easily one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what did you think about? Did you watch Agatha all along?
I loved Agatha all along.
How did you feel about how they portrayed Billy?
I reckon they did a good job.
Hmm.
Like they kept it comic accurate as much as possible, considering the continuity of the MCU. Um, the only difference I found with Billy's origin and in the comics and Agatha was that Memphis wasn't actually involved in it, but the fact that his spirit still went into another body, that still kept that comic accuracy, and that's what I really enjoyed.
That's very true. I love how they portrayed him. I did kind of want to see the Mephisto story, but I don't know how they would have possibly CGI'd Mephisto with two babies coming out of his hands. It's such a look. Very awkward.
That
But
would have been actually pretty cool to see
it would
to a
have been,
degree.
I would have loved it. I don't care how bad it would have been. I would have loved it. It's just
Yeah,
so weird. Comics are so weird.
yeah, and that's the beauty of comics. I find
Yeah, I
comics can do
agree.
anything.
It's true. And you get so many different versions of really anything with some characters you love, like Scarlet Witch, and we've gotten so many versions of her. And I think that's
Yeah,
something that people don't quite realize is that, yeah, the movies, the TV shows, fantastic, so much fun to watch, but the comics open up an entirely different world for you.
yeah, they do. Like for me, growing up when I was younger, comics was my way of
Hmm.
escaping an abusive stepfather, stepbrothers who used to bully me, and all that. So I fell in love with comics at a young age. Um, to me, yeah, as I said, like they were my escape from reality, where I felt safe inside them.
I'm really sorry you went through that. That must have been really hard.
I was,
Yeah, it sucks. But look at you now. You're living your authentic self out loud. You're wearing a very nice dress, and you have Spider-Man and Venom in your bed. It's like, look at you. And you're learning, you're gonna create
oh,
video
and
games.
I've also got Miles as well.
Oh, son of a gun. I want that. That's so cute. I love that. But like I'm proud of you. You're doing so many amazing things and you're doing it in a way that you're not hiding who you are. You're just loud about it and more people need to be that.
Yeah, I'm also an advocate for trans rights over here in Australia.
Yes.
And we just in the last couple of days had a hit to our youth. Our state government has now officially banned puberty blockers for trans youth.
Oh.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't long until Trump got in power would start following suit. So, that's what happens in Australia.
I didn't realize Australia was like that. That's so sad. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
That's
I'm waiting for the day they tell me that I won't be able to get surgery.
yeah.
But yeah, no,
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But sitting there waiting for it, you know, it I really don't have any advice. I'm not I'm not trans, so I'll never be
yeah,
able to relate to you, but I do respect what you are and I respect that you're an advocate for trans rights because there's not enough advocates.
there's not.
No. But we don't know what the future holds. It
Exactly. Like I do agree there needs to be more authentic representation in entertainment because trans kids, gay kids, even intersex kids, they all need role models.
Yeah.
And I never had that much when I was a kid myself, so it was hard. It was hard for me to come out. I wanted to come out when I was younger, and I totally regret not doing it now. But I was 34 when I came out,
Wow.
and I'm 38 now.
You do not look 38, first of all. That is wild. I would have said 28 at the most.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. I agree. There needs to be more advocacy for every letter in the LGBTQ plus.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
anyone that disagrees with that, don't watch my channel. I don't want to. If it saves one child's life, isn't that worth it?
Exactly. Absolutely.
The world is a scary place. That's
Oh,
why
it
we all
is.
dive into our comics and we don't want to come back up for air.
That's right.
So, I guess back to comics. Um, is there any new comics that you've read recently that you really liked? Because there's a lot of new stuff coming out that's
Actually,
pretty
I have
crazy.
not had much time to read comics
That's
between
fair.
studying and writing my own and drawing my own. Yeah, I've basically just buried myself in my own comics these days. So
That is not a bad problem to have. That is the best excuse. That is so cool. Oh, that's so cool. I'm not like artistic like that, so I could never. So I'm just like so jealous. So how many comics would you say that you've created?
at the moment, I'm actually working on 3 different titles.
What? Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
but I've got at least another 15 in the back burner,
Wow. So,
slowly being worked out and plotted. And
God, your brain must be like Internet Explorer and having a million tabs open at all times.
um, yeah, yeah, that's pretty much hitting the proverbial nail on the head.
Well, that's really cool though. So, would you say so I have so many questions because I don't make comics and it's just like a whole world that I don't get. So, are any of your characters kind of modeled after you?
Yes, I actually do have a character that's modeled after me,
Oh,
and her name is Dr. Chrono. She is
oh,
um, she's a physicist in time travel, and she
oh,
creates a chrono suit which basically allows her to travel back in time, or forward in time, or anywhere in the universe
oh.
instantaneously.
That's that's really compelling. I really like that. I would read the crap out of that.
So, because I love history,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of arcs where she goes back in history to fix aberrations, and so like she's like a time traveling superhero. She doesn't fight crime in her time; she fights crime in all over time.
Oh wow.
But she's sort of got like a multi-dimensional organization that's sort of like the TVA. Um, Mind you, I came up with this before the TVA was even heard of. So, yeah, like she's also trans like me.
Hmm.
The way she actually came about um, is I was actually seeing a psychiatrist at the time, psychologist, sorry, not a psychiatrist. Um, and she asked me to draw a picture of how I see myself. So I did. So um, I drew her without any armor on, and she was like this sort of like old chick with that's like really into science and history.
Oh. Well, so she has your features and like your color hair and everything.
Yeah. She's
Oh,
like, well, not exactly my color hair at the moment,
mm-hmm.
but it was how I would see myself.
Oh,
I'll
that's
show you a picture one
nice.
day. I'll show you the picture one
Yeah,
day.
I'd like that. That's really nice. It feels like their comics are kind of like the world you would want to live in, the ones where there isn't any of these political things happening, just you're living
Yeah,
who you are and fighting
yeah,
crime and doing all of that.
yeah. Silly. Yeah, like my comics are exactly like the world in my comics is exactly the ideal world that I would like to live in to a degree.
Hmm.
However, however, there is a lot of corruption in that world as well that the superheroes weed out, especially within the government. And yeah,
Of course. That's really cool. I can't wait to someday read that on your
yeah.
comic book day. That's awesome. Wow. So, when did you first get into making your own comics?
That would have been back in 2012 or
Wow.
2011. Yeah,
So, you've been at this for a while. My gosh,
yeah.
that is a lot of experience.
I did previously publish one
Oh.
that did not do too well at the time, and my artist at the time was taking too long with issue two. So I decided to just take it off and reboot it, and I'm basically just been working on the reboot ever since. I've been trying to find the right artist to do it. To do the Xenopians, I sort of found an artist at the moment and working closely with him. Um, Met him at uni actually, so
Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's so cool. So, what made you want to start making your own comics?
Well, I remember when I first read Spider-Man, a Spider-Man comic. I was about 8 years old, and I figured, well, if these guys can do it, I can do it too. I had that attitude when I was a kid. If they can do it, I can do it. So I tried, but I couldn't think of anything I didn't that I liked, and I gave up. Well, fast forward a few years, one of my old mates, he created a comic called Piston, and it was like he was giving it out page by page every week,
Oh,
and I was reading it, I was getting into it, and I was thinking, hey, if he can do this, so can I. So I was already writing novels at the time. I actually originally wrote Xenopians as a novel.
oh, wow.
Yeah. It was actually meant to be a 7 book series.
Oh my gosh.
With each book getting bigger and bigger. Um, yeah, sort of like I had it set out to be basically like a Harry Potter with superheroes.
Okay, that's really. I would be so into that. Man.
Yeah. So I thought, hang on, I've got a story now. Why can't I turn my story into a comic? My story would be so much more visually appealing.
Hmm.
So I decided to start my own little publishing studio, and I found an artist, and his name was Tamoy Das, and he worked on visual effects for Thor: The Dark World.
Wow.
Yeah. I also got a um, artist, not an artist, an editor who helped me edit, and she um, used to work for Marvel at the time, and um, and her husband, who was working for Dark Horse, also lettered my comics.
Oh my gosh. So you got a little bit of everything. Your comics are like the melting pot of comics.
Yeah,
That's so cool. Congratulations on all that. It's amazing.
thanks.
Yeah. So, what I really do like is that you're making your own comics. They are all for you, It's not like others where I see like, oh, I want to make comics for Marvel or DC. I'm making my own thing. I really appreciate that. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I've had so much fun with you. You're such a joy. You're so kind. I love you.
Thank you.
Where can our members or our listeners find you?
You can find me on Instagram under TheVicornian.
Okay.
I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, all the socials, Discord even. I have a Discord server if anyone is interested in joining that and finding out more about comics and games I make. So yeah, basically all the socials. If you can't find me on that social, I'm probably not on that social altogether.
Well, that's fair.
So yeah, the Vicornian.
TheVicornian. And wherever you guys are watching or listening to this episode, please check the show notes, and I should have the links to where you can find Emily and all of her amazing stuff she's doing. So, thank you so much for joining me. You're welcome back anytime. This was so much fun.
No worries. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to this episode of the new and improved Vigilante Vibes. Wherever you're listening to this episode, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my amazing guests or any future episodes. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great night.